Three-eye atlas, the most bizarre object we have studied from Earth in our solar system, possibly ever. I mean, it's fascinating. And I love the comments. I love reading people's ideas about what this object could be. I've talked to people that work in aerospace that do not believe it's a comet. And if it is actually a retrofitted comet from a highly advanced civilization. Extremely smart people that do not believe it is a dirty ice ball traveling through space at 130,000 miles an hour, give or take a few miles. So we've got a lot to talk about. Cover-ups, potentially, and the latest information, the past 24 hours of Three-Eye Atlas. It just turned green again, which is pretty cool. We're going to look at information from Professor Loeb. We're going to talk about data that Greg Allison has presented. He is a rocket scientist and aerospace engineer, as well as somebody you probably haven't heard of, Dr. John Brandenburg. He is a plasma physicist, fusion energy, and advanced space propulsion expert and author. So buckle up, buttercups. Let's go. I'm Rex Bear, Leak Project. How the heck are you? Beautiful day today out here in Southern Colorado, but last I checked, it was full. So if you're planning on coming out, just joking. There's a lot of space to roam. It's just fascinating. So have you heard of the Maven spacecraft from NASA? Because it tracked Three-Eye Atlas and then it disappeared. Did it really disappear? Is NASA just saying it disappeared because it picked up something they don't want to share with us? I don't think so, because NASA has a track record of not sharing information with us. And Professor Loeb brought that up the other day. Why are we not seeing higher resolution imaging of Three-Eye Atlas? Like, what's going on? It doesn't mean it's an alien spacecraft, but something potentially could rewrite physics and our understanding of space. We're not given the beef. So where's the beef? We're going to talk about it. Before I get into that, though, I do want to let you know, if you're getting two notifications, YouTube has this really cool feature now where you can live stream in vertical format and horizontal format. So it's the same stream, it's just a different format. The vertical is designed for your phone to give you full screen on your phone, and the horizontal obviously gives you full screen on your TV or big screen or computer monitor. So that's why you're getting the two notifications. At least you're getting notifications. A lot of people have told me through the years, Rex, I keep subscribing. I'm still not getting notifications. I hit the bell for all notifications, and I still have to go to your channel, and I see that you've done a bunch of podcasts, and I didn't get notified for it. So I don't know why that is. But just so you know, just check back daily for new content. And we're also on Rumble. We're on Patreon. So check us out on Rumble and Patreon. We do live shows on Rumble as well. But you got to love YouTube. I'm very thankful and grateful that YouTube allows me to show information and present podcasts with you. And thank you. I'm also very grateful for you for being here with me. Also, real quick, shameless plug, Gladiator Barley Boomer Boost. Get yourself some. You can go to boomerboost.com, get the Gladiator Barley and the Boomer Boost combo. Use the code REX20. You'll get 20% off your order. Plus, you can set it for auto ship, and you'll get an extra 10%. You can stack your discounts. It's really, really cool. If you are looking for clothing that blocks EMF radiation, you can get it at tinfoilcap.co. This stuff works, and we've actually tested all of our products at tinfoilcap.co, and they do block EMF radiation, even 5G, so 5th generation. So definitely check that out, tinfoilcap.co. People love the products, awesome testimonials. And the first thing I wanted to show you. So did you hear about how Maven, it is a NASA spacecraft that was launched back, I think, in 2012 or 2013, made it to Mars around 2014. And this Maven spacecraft has had no problems that we know of. It has done a great job over the past 10 years, 10, 11 years, studying the Mars atmosphere and volatile evolution. That's what Maven stands for. Well, guess what? After it picks up data on Three-Eye Atlas, it disappears. NASA says, we don't know what happened, an anomaly. It's really strange. Let me show you this. I'm going to pull this up directly from NASA, actually. Always a straight answer. Yeah, check this out. NASA team work Maven spacecraft signal loss. Now, I found out about this after an article from IFL Science. Fresh from capturing image of Three-Eye Atlas, NASA's Maven suffers anomaly and is no longer communicating with Earth. This is directly from NASA. The Mars Atmosphere and Volatile Evolution spacecraft in orbit around Mars, excuse me, experienced a loss of signal with ground stations on Earth, December 6th. Telemetry from Maven had showed all subsystems working normally before it orbited behind the red planet. After the spacecraft emerged from behind Mars, NASA's Deep Space Network did not observe a signal. What's that about? Did 3i Atlas turn it off? The spacecraft and operations teams are investigating the anomaly to address the situation. More information will be shared once it becomes available. Yeah, right. The Maven spacecraft launched November 2013. So it has been in orbit, or not in orbit, but it was launched 12 years ago. It entered Mars orbit September 2014. So almost 11 and a half years, this thing's working and doing what it's supposed to do. And then 3i Atlas does a flyby and it shuts off. Or, I mean, who knows? Maybe they picked it up. Maybe they're like, oh, that's what we need. Let's get that on the way. The mission's goal is to explore the planet's upper atmosphere, ionosphere, and interactions with the sun and solar wind to explore the loss of the Martian atmosphere to space. Understanding atmospheric loss gives scientists insight into the history of the red planet's atmosphere and climate, liquid water, and planetary habitat or habitability. The spacecraft also serves as a communications relay station for rovers on the Martian surface. Last year, Maven celebrated its 10th anniversary in orbit at Mars. Now let's also talk about the high resolution imaging that we were supposed to see after the government shut down, after they, started it back up. We still haven't seen the high resolution images. NASA did a press release where it's like they were talking to children and they just said, oh, everything's normal. Yeah, totally fine. It's just a comet. Okay, have a nice day. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Now give us $23 billion for next year's fiscal budget so we can share fuzzy images of space rocks, alleged space rocks. There's too much about 3i Atlas that is making me question the narrative. Another thing that's making me question the narrative is the International Asteroid Warning Network, underneath the United Nations umbrella, activated on the 27th of last month to study 3i Atlas with hundreds of independent astronomers and different governing bodies and observatories around the world. They say, don't worry, it's not a threat, but we're going to take all this excitement and we're going to establish this warning. We're going to update the International Asteroid Warning Network. We're going to use that as a medium to get more information about objects, but there's no threat. And we're not going to share with you high resolution images that we have. We're just going to show you the fuzzy wuzzy data. And then we're going to say squiggly lines in our presentation. Remember that? One of the NASA scientists or speakers in the conference was like, yeah, you see those wiggly lines? We call those wiggly lines or something. I was like, really? I wasn't the only one thinking that, because people were leaving comments like, dude, serious? This is what you're giving us? Very bizarre. And not only NASA, China has higher resolution images of this object that they're not sharing with us. Why? And then the European Union has also activated what is called the planetary defense system, or something that is connected to the planetary defense system. But they say there's no threat. There's nothing to worry about. Well, in just a few days, on the 19th, actually, we're going to be at our closest viewing position of 3i Atlas. 3i Atlas is going to make its closest approach just before the 21st, which the 21st is typically the winter solstice. It's showing up at the 19th. And then I started to think about it. I was like, Professor Loeb, maybe he isn't just wanting views. Maybe he isn't just role playing. Maybe he actually knows stuff that we don't know, and he's sharing information that he can in a way that can be palatable to an extent via other astronomers and researchers. Because if you come out and say it's an alien spacecraft, even if it is, the majority of the mainstream academia is going to call you a conspiracy theorist. And I was like, I kind of pat myself on the back for this, but I was one of the very first people to report on 3i Atlas after Professor Loeb, because there's just too much, there's too much that they're not sharing with us. And there's too much that we know about this object with the little that they have shared with us to make me say, okay, yeah, I'm convinced it's just an interstellar comet. Why? Why are you not sharing with us the data? Why are we getting little bits? And there's two reasons I can think of. The first reason could potentially be that they want to keep this conspiracy going. They want to keep the interest going. And if they show us the high resolution images, then those that don't follow the narrative are going to say, oh, well, okay, that was a big letdown. So they want to keep interest high by not sharing information with us. Or they have data and images that show absolutely it's not a typical comet, whether or not it's extraterrestrial, I don't know. What are they hiding? This is really weird. Really, really weird. This is a recent image of 3i Atlas. Let's look at imaging from yesterday. These were all taken yesterday, and you can find these on the, what do they call this? The ICQ Comet Observations on Facebook. Here's the data and the observatories in Thailand. And these were taken yesterday. Looks like a cosmic egg. This right here, this is one of my favorites because this is a compilation of various images from various observatories, amateur astronomers, and official governing bodies like NASA, the European Space Agency. This one right here that looks like a TIE fighter. This was taken from the ESA, I think. And then to the left of that, this is just a amateur astronomer that picked this up. And then the one in the center, this is one of my favorites because now look, this could just be the telescope that was used that makes it look like there's 4 or 5 different objects surrounding it. But this is from Ray's astrophotography. And I think he's doing a pretty good job as an amateur astronomer learning about this object as he goes, as he's continuing to record it with his telescope and share it with everybody. He's getting a ton of views. He's getting a ton of subscribers and a lot of interest, rightfully so. Great job. But this is one of my favorites. And it reminds me a bit of what Ashton Forbes shared with the MH370 footage that showed these orbs or these spheres circling a airplane, and then the airplane disappears in what looks like some type of wormhole. I'm not saying that's what it is, but that's what it looks like. So it's very interesting. Now, if you go to Space and Technology, this is from Space and Technology. You can find him on X. In a recent video, Ray's astrophotography discussed the strange and unpredictable behavior of 3i Atlas. He explained that he's been tracking the object about a month, and every time he captures a new image, 3i Atlas looks completely different. Some nights it appears like a simple disc-shaped comet. On other nights, it showed jets shooting out in multiple directions. Sometimes it appeared as a disk with no visible coma at all. One night it looked extremely bright, colorful, and active with jets firing everywhere. The next day, it acts like a regular comet. So I think that Space and Technology did a pretty good job showing us this. What would you call this? What would be the right term when you take it? Like a collage, basically. And then let's go to this one right here. As Professor Loeb had mentioned also, the high RIC, which is the Chinese Space Agency camera on board the Tianwen-1 Mars orbiter, they give us more fuzzy images. So it's not just NASA. It's like all of these different governing bodies from different nations are sharing with us very low resolution images when they have much better data that they could share. Why? Is there some type of agreement at the highest levels of governments that say anything that could change the perception of space or asteroids or comets, We do not want you to release this data because we want to leave people in the dark. We don't want people to really know and understand space as it is. We want them to follow these rabbit holes. We want them to continue to be interested. So we're not going to share anything good. We're just going to share the fuzzy images, even though we've got the good images. I don't understand it. But this is directly from the China National Space Administration, the Tianwen observing 3i Atlas. This is showing the orbit of the satellite when it actually tracked the object. Here's the object right here. And they're calling this a high resolution camera. Yeah, fuzzy, a fuzzy high resolution. And this guy, I need to get him on the show. Dr. John Brandenburg, plasma physicist, fusion energy expert, advanced space propulsion, author. He doesn't think 3i Atlas is your typical comet. He absolutely, from the posts that I've read, thinks that this is some type of spacecraft. Now, let me share with you what we do know. Let's look at this for a minute and talk about what we do know. As we're doing that, though, I want to share with you. Let's go look at. Let's scroll through this. This is the recent paper from Professor Loeb. 3i Atlas still shows an anti-tail as it gets closer to Earth. So the original designation of 3i Atlas, another search you should do if you're trying to get all the data on this object, is type in C2025N1. That was the original name designated for 3i Atlas. It was discovered July 1st by the Atlas Survey Telescope in Chile. That's why they call it 3i Atlas. 3 stands for the third, I stands for interstellar, Atlas is what they captured it with, so 3i Atlas. And Oumuamua was the first, Borisov was the second. Oumuamua was captured in 2017, Borisov in 2019. And what makes these objects unique is they're not gravitationally bound to the sun. And another interesting anomaly of 3i Atlas was as it passed the sun, as it traveled around the sun, non-gravitational forces moved it just enough to where when it went past Jupiter, it was in the Hill zone, the Lagrange range, L2, I think, L2 and L3, in between L2 and L3, I'll double check that. But it was in the sweet spot of Jupiter's gravitational force to where if it was a artificial craft, that would be the perfect location to release some type of probes or technology that would be bound to Jupiter's orbit, not the sun's. Does that make sense? So whatever caused it to move just enough as it traveled around the sun made it the perfect location for Jupiter's orbit to release potential probes. Now, I also find this very interesting when we look at the timing of what is going on with our planet right now geopolitically, with the rumors of wars, with the wars that are taking place, with the conflicts, hybrid warfare, the weather changes, the extreme weather, the weakened magnetosphere, the heightened solar radiation, the atmospheric rivers, the flooding, the fires. It all seems to be at a perfect time for this object to make a flyby of Earth and other planets in our solar system. Very interesting. I also find it very interesting that if you go back to Haim Eshed, if anybody's going to know about spacecraft and extraterrestrials and breakaway civilizations, it would be Haim Eshed. This guy was at the cutting edge for decades in aerospace and aeronautics. And he came out several years ago and said, oh yeah, we're working with Martians. We're working with people on Mars. There's underground bases on Mars. Those on Mars are not ready to make themselves known yet because we don't understand space and spacecraft enough. We're not ready for it. And a lot of people came out and said, oh, well, it's just a conspiracy and they're just, he's making stuff up. Is he? Why would he do that? You can argue, well, he might do that because he wants to sell books. He wrote a book and he wants to sell books. You might argue, oh, well, it is going to be some type of Project Bluebeam, fake alien invasion. So they're prepping the masses for a potential fake alien invasion. And yeah, those are possibilities. I would put those very low percentage-wise, though. But the selling book thing, yeah, absolutely. But I mean, think about it. If you have information and you write it down into a book, Are you not going to want to promote it? Doesn't mean the information isn't true. If anything, it's probably more true because you want to share that information with the world. And he's at a point where he's like, you know what? I think now is the time. And I would also say if he brought that, the fact that he brought that information to light, somebody connected with him, even potentially these people on Mars are like, okay, let's test the waters. Let's tell the public about what we're, let's tell the public and see how they react, see what they do, see what they say. And then you can study all this with social media and you can get into the minds of people and you can say, okay, well, 55% believe it, 45% don't. So now what is the next move? 3i Atlas is estimated to be several kilometers across, making it unusually large for an interstellar visitor. Although how the hell do we know? Because it's only the third one that we've publicly discussed. It's traveling at a hyperbolic trajectory. Its closest approach to Earth is going to be December 19th, just a few days away, roughly 170 million miles out. So they're saying this is outside any impact risk. So there is no official claim from NASA, the European Space Agency, or the UN that 3i Atlas poses any danger. However, they certainly have activated the International Asteroid Warning Network, and the European Union has activated a part of the planetary defense system. But don't worry, we're with the government. We're here to help. We would tell you if you needed to be concerned. We would let you know because we love you. Over the past 24 to 48 hours, 3i Atlas has passed perihelion. It has began moving outward again. Astronomers are reporting several notable features. A green coloration commonly associated with cometary emissions, such as diatomic carbon, still noteworthy due to the object's interstellar origin. It has a persistent anti-tail, which is a rare sunward pointing dust feature that occurs under specific viewing geometry. Structural changes in the coma and tail as observed by ground-based telescopes and space-based instruments. NASA's Maven spacecraft. Let's go to this again. If you're just joining us, how the heck are you? Thank you for being here. I find this fascinating. So NASA's Maven spacecraft, which has been orbiting Mars since 2014, studying the atmosphere, successfully captured observations of 3i Atlas from a unique vantage point near Mars. Then, shortly after, NASA confirmed that Maven experienced an anomaly and stopped communicating with Earth. According to NASA, Maven passed behind Mars in what is normally a routine communication blackout. Telemetry before the blackout indicated the spacecraft was functioning normally. When it emerged, no signal was detected by the Deep Space Network. As of the latest official updates, NASA teams are investigating and attempting to restore contact. No cause has been publicly identified yet. There is no official connection made by NASA between 3i Atlas and the Maven anomaly. Only the timing overlaps. However, that timing raises eyebrows, and I'm very, very interested in this. So then let's talk about the planetary defense. Around the same time, headlines began circulating suggesting the planetary defense systems were being activated in response to 3i Atlas. This is what they're saying officially happened. And we've already covered this. The International Asteroid Warning Network, which is a UN-supported global coordination group, had already scheduled a routine observational campaign involving 3i Atlas that started on the 27th of last month, and it is still active. They call this a training and coordination exercise, focusing on improving and tracking extended objects like comets. Why did you pick 3i Atlas? And why now? Especially if there's no threat. Everybody's fascinated with this object that knows about it. Well, not everybody. A lot of people are like, Rex, it's just a space rock, man. Talk about something else. I'm not interested, but I wanted to come on here on your channel, on your podcast, and tell you how uninterested I am in 3i Atlas. Okay? Okay. Relax. The European Space Agency participated in this campaign. through its Planetary Defense Office, contributing data and orbital refinement. No weapons, interceptors, or emergency protocols were activated, they say. Then it goes on to say there is no separate EU planetary defense system operating outside the UN framework. What some media outlets described as a planetary defense activation was actually standard preparedness and data sharing, not a response to danger, officially. Now let's talk about some of the controversy with transparency. Why the fuzzy images? Why are amateur astronomers with $600 telescopes picking up better images than equipment in space that costs tens of millions of dollars? Why? Well, let's talk about it. Professor Loeb has publicly criticized how data related to 3i Atlas has been released and presented. NASA likely possesses higher resolution images and data sets of 3i Atlas, particularly from Mars-based or high-resolution instruments, according to Loeb. Some publicly released images are lower resolution or heavily processed, limiting independent analysis. The scientific community has a tendency to close the narrative early, labeling objects as normal before all data is examined. I've noticed that big time. I even have a friend that guy is really smart. He's one of my best friends. But anytime you bring up something that isn't the official narrative, unless it comes to climate change, he will immediately discredit and make fun of. And a lot of people are like that because that's the way that they were raised. That's the way that, like when they went to college, the education system presents things oftentimes. And some people might be also concerned about like how people look at them if they don't follow that official narrative, if that makes sense. So I'm not saying it's an alien spacecraft, folks, but this is really, really weird. And the fact that they have hidden so much from us that they could share with us, with the amount of interest that people have, is definitely raising alarm bells in my mind and in my eyes. So Professor Loeb has used phrases like withholding or sitting on images, but he has not provided proof of a secret cover-up, nor has he claimed certainty that the object is artificial. His argument is about scientific conservatism, transparency, and openness, not evidence of a coordinated conspiracy. No, but I certainly question that, and I'm sure there's thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people that know about this object that are questioning that as well. Now, NASA, for its part, has stated that data releases follow calibration, verification, and mission protocols. All released data so far is consistent with a natural comet, they say. Additional data may take time to process and publish. This creates a philosophical divide, not a proven scandal. Interesting. So this is what we know absolutely about 3i Atlas. It is an interstellar comet. Maven did lose contact after a routine Mars occultation after observing 3i Atlas. Planetary defense groups conducted a planned observation campaign. No agency has declared a public emergency or threat. Unresolved questions. What caused Maven to stop contact? How did that anomaly take place? Now, whether additional high-resolution imagery exists or not, and will it be released? I want to know, where's the beef? And also, whether subtle features of 3i Atlas warrant further reanalysis. I say yes, 100%, in my opinion. Unproven claims, according to this, NASA is intentionally hiding images for nefarious reasons. Yeah, we can't prove that yet. Another unproven claim is that 3i Atlas is artificial. That is correct. We haven't been able to prove that yet without a shadow of a doubt. And another is that planetary defense was activated due to danger. All very odd, though. So what do you think, folks? What are your thoughts? And let's look at these images again. I want to take a look at this. So from the left to the right, we've got 7 different images of 3i Atlas. The one in the center was taken from Ray's astrophotography. And that one, in my opinion, is the most interesting. The one right to that is also another amateur photographer stacking images where it has multiple tells. To the right of that, this is from the ESA, and it is a very low resolution image. And you could see this object rotating. think one of these is the third one in, the second or third one in is from the Hubble Space Telescope, if I'm correct. So this is a combination of amateur and official. Very interesting. The changing of colors is very interesting, but that would make sense if it is heating up and emitting different or releasing different chemical compounds. When it was making its pass around the sun, it turned blue or green there as well. And so there's been speculation about the red and blue Kachinas and Hopi prophecy connecting the two. That would be very interesting. I wouldn't be surprised. And at the same time, I wouldn't not be surprised if that's not the Kachinas that are referred to in this Hopi prophecy. Now, remember, Kachinas and Hopi and other native cultures, there are Kachinas with various aspects of nature and space. So it isn't a specific object or like you can't say that, oh, a red Kachina is definitely a planet or an object that is this three-eye atlas, because there are a multitude of Kachinas and a multitude of stories relating to Kachinas. I'd like to get my friend Hopi Elder Maleva back on the show, Grandpa Maleva, and maybe he could talk a bit more about that, because he is one of the last of his tribe in the Hopi tribe, and he's an awesome guy. He's just such a wonderful person. Something else that I wanted to bring to your attention that I find very, very interesting is the orbit, or the rotation of Three-Eye Atlas. So Three-Eye Atlas has a rotation of 16 hours and 16 minutes. 16 hours and 16 minutes. Now, the reason I find that interesting is, 1616 Revelation. If you study scriptures, and I look at scriptures more as metaphorical and like a blueprint or a storyline of previous cultures and times, and they put all this information together and compile it in what's referred to as the Bible. And most people that have access to the Bible are either reading like the New International Version or the King James Version, where there's like 66 books, 66 different scriptures compiled into this canon, referred to as the Bible. Well, if you study astrotheology, you will understand these biblical scriptures much better metaphorically, because a lot of these stories are referring to constellations. A lot of these stories you can connect with the Farmer's Almanac, and you can read previous scriptures that predate civilizations going all the way back to ancient Sumer and Babylon and some of the Greek cultures and timelines. It's fascinating to read these older scriptures and how they connect to the modern canon that we have access to. But a lot of it is describing astrotheology. So if you were to read Revelation, and the reason I'm talking about this is let's get into the 1616, which is the rotation, 16 hours and 16 minutes, the rotation of Three-Eye Atlas. And now let's read Revelation 1616. And I'm going to read this with what is called Young's literal translation. So let's read the literal translation from, I think it was from Greek to English. This is Revelation 16:16. And they did bring them together to the place that is called in Hebrew Armageddon. Whoa, Armageddon. You know what Armageddon means? The revealing. The revealing. That is scripture 16:16 in Revelation. So I think of Three-Eye Atlas, the revealing, and also Hebrew Armageddon. Let's look at the conflict that is taking place right now and has been taking place in the Middle East, as well as now, or for the past several years, Ukraine and Russia, and potentially Taiwan, China, Japan, and the U.S. Right now, the Venice. So did you hear there was a project or a program? I'm sorry, not a program, an operation. It was an operation in 2020 to take over, let me see, 2020 Venezuela secret operation. What's it called? Well, they were wanting to overthrow, here it is, Operation Gideon. The main secret operation in Venezuela in 2020 was Operation Gideon. It failed May 2020, an attempt by ex-military Venezuelans and a U.S. security firm, Silvercorp, to invade via sea from Colombia to overthrow Nicolas Maduro, involving former Green Berets, but ending in disaster. In late 2020, the Trump administration authorized broader CIA covert actions, including sabotage, psychological ops, and lethal force, alongside increased military presence and seizures of sanctioned oil tankers, escalating pressure on Maduro's government. That didn't work. So what are we doing now? Well, as of right now, how many troops are out there, and how many, not only troops, but we've got the Gerald Ford aircraft carrier, F-35s, a ton of jets, a ton of stuff that we don't even know about. And this is the next step in overthrowing a leader of a nation. If you like, John Perkins, what was that book that he wrote? John Perkins books. The Confessions of an Economic Hitman. I interviewed John about 8 years ago, and he described the steps that were taken to overthrow and topple regimes. And if they couldn't get the leaders that they wanted out via clandestine operations, that's when they went in full military force. I'm seeing that right now in Venezuela. And I think that there's a lot more reasons than just the oil, the positioning, the location. And did you read the report recently via Danish intelligence stating the US is considered a security threat? When did you think we would ever see something like that? We're seeing some very fast changes with NATO, the NATO alliance, the positioning of the US military, the conflict in the Middle East, this extreme weather, Three-Eye Atlas. Is it all connected? Because to me, I can see these connections spiritually, physically, metaphorically. So absolutely incredible. And yeah, what are your thoughts about all this, ladies and gentlemen? Leave your comments in the comments section, please. I hope you have it. Oh yeah, before I've got some really cool information I want to share with you. I almost forgot about. So I've got a friend named Gunner, and it's a kick-ass name, right? Gunner. He lives out here in Pagosa. Last year, when the news was covered in headlines of mystery drones and UAPs spotted in the skies, he was recording UAPs at his house on a nightly basis almost. And they're back. And we're going to go find them tonight. So I live in a location in southern Colorado that's extremely close to Dulce, New Mexico. There's a lot of mystery about Dulce and a lot of stories and a lot of conspiracy theories about the mesa, what's under the mesa. I did extensive research on that area for several years. I talked to a bunch of locals. I did a bunch of, boots on the ground work out there. And I stopped going out there after that very lucid dream I had where I've shared with you before. I get spooked out every time I think about it, but that made me stop going out there. But anyway, the whole reason I'm bringing this up is my friend Gunner is filming these very bizarre UAPs again, and they're like blinking on and off. They're moving in very weird motions, and it's not like your traditional drone or your traditional aircraft. They could be experimental some type, but he lives pretty close to Dulce as well. I mean, we're about an hour away from Dulce or less. But not only is there a ton of activity in that region, there is a ton of activity out here in Pagosa and Chromo and all the way up over Wolf Creek Pass and the Mysterious Valley, close to Crestone and that huge valley out there. Christopher O'Brien, rest in peace, rest in power, Christopher. I hope you're doing awesome on the other side. He has written books on the area with locations and what he actually saw with his own eyes and tons of cattle mutilations that he went to in person. He actually trained the police for these X-Files type investigations. And then they started taking his protocols and doing their own investigations out there, he believes. So we are going to look for these orbs tonight. We're going to look for these and hopefully get some more data, because they're more than orbs. They kind of look like orbs. We don't know if they're physical or plasma. But then I was talking to my friend Angela, and she said she's been seeing these things, and she lives in Utah, and she saw them a lot when she was out in Roy. And she said she saw them over mountains and military bases. And then the locals that I've talked to in Dulce have also observed these things. One gal that I talked to that actually stopped me when I was doing a live stream out there several years ago. She's like, Rex, hey, I've got this information for you. Wonderful lady. Thank you for sharing this with me. She was saying that she has observed many times these dancing orbs in the sky that like move around and they kind of dance together and they fly away. But not only that, the most interesting thing I ever heard about the Archuleta Mesa was when I talked to a gal that lives close enough. She bought a ranch out there, her and her husband. And I met her one day because I was out there filming on the side of the road. And then her husband drove past first. And he's like, is everything okay? And I'm like, yeah, everything's good. He's like, okay. And just kept going. And then she comes by and she's like, how's it going? I'm like, good. She's like, really, it's beautiful out here, isn't it? I'm like, yeah. And then I started talking to her about why I was out there, and I was looking for anomalies and stuff. And I asked her if she had ever seen anything. And then she just opened up like a book, and she shared with me some of the anomalies that she had seen at the mesa, covering the mesa. And the mesa is huge, like grids covering the mesa, craft flying into the mesa and disappearing and all sorts of stuff. And she's like, yeah, I don't really talk about this stuff with many people because they think I'm crazy when I do. And she could tell I was just, I was listening with an open mind. I wasn't judging. And it was incredible what she told me. So tonight we're not going to Dulce. We're definitely not going to Dulce. I don't think I'm going to go back there again for a long time. But regardless, we're going to a location where all sorts of weird activity has been spotted, and recently. So hopefully I'm going to be able to get some good footage and share that with you. Let me see if I can actually pull up some of this footage right now. I would love to be able to pull this footage up right now. Let's see here. I want to share this with you. See if it's on my. No, it's not. Hold on. Stick with me for a couple more minutes because I want to share this footage with you that Gunnar had shared with me. I'm going to see if I can figure out a way to. Yeah, here we go. Okay, I think I figured it out. Nanu. What's up, man? Can you see my eyes? All right, let's see here. Yes, here we go. Awesome. Got it. I've got two videos. Okay, pull these up. Here we go. Okay, can you see this? Check this out. You can tell it's not a star or a planet because it's moving. There's two of them right now that you can see if you look carefully. And we're going to go out there tonight with some better cameras and some Gen 3 night vision in hopes of picking up even more of these anomalies and better details. But the way that they move around is extremely bizarre. And Gunnar's been tracking these since last year. I think he took a sabbatical and went to Utah for several months, but he comes back and boom, it happens again. So that's one. Let me show the other one now. Okay. Check this out. Look to the top right. Now look in the middle. Look at the center. Look at that thing. It's flashing these weird, these real bizarre lights, you know, pulsing almost. Now, he is filming this west of his property, which, if you go west of that area, there's a place called Chimney Rock. And there's also a place called Devil Mountain and Devil Creek. Hence, even more interesting, because a lot of times these locations that are named after the devil seem to have strange phenomena. And so tonight, our plan is to get out and find some more of these things. But he is filming them almost every night. And the times that he's picking them up, like there's an hour or two window where these things become very active. And it's on a regular basis. And so my question is, are these some type of military drones, experimental craft? Is it paranormal? Is it plasma? Is it Earth related? I don't know, but it's super weird. So yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you have a beautiful day. Be excellent to each other. And stick around, because tonight we're going to do some live streaming, and maybe we'll pick something up live and you'll be with us. Have a beautiful day. Be the change you want to see. Thank you. And yes, we're all crazy. Thank you very much. I love the comments. You're all crazy because you question what the official narrative is. Well, I would say you're crazy if you don't, but yeah, I would rather be crazy than sane if that's what makes me crazy. Thank you.